Hi guys, my name's Courtney. So today I'm going to be talking about the Ovahimba tribe from Namibia for my Indigenous 100s presentation. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'm just going to be referring to them as the Himba tribe because that's more commonly what they're known as. So the reason I chose this specific Indigenous tribe is because I was watching a YouTube documentary not that long ago on a guide that went around the world trying different ethnical foods. And the episode that I was watching was one where he was actually in Namibia eating with the Himba people. And I just thought they were so interesting. The way that they lived, how they prepared the food, and even how they looked. They're very beautiful. That's just my first impression of them. So for today, I'm going to be kind of touching on three separate topics. The first is their history. The next one is their social rights, or their social structures, pardon me. And then the last one is their customs and traditions, because they're a very traditional tribe. So to begin with, I'm going to start with their history. So around the 16th century, they were actually a part of the Herero tribe that was located in Cookaville. But they came upon some hardships. There were several droughts, and there was also a deadly genocide that was because of the German colonizers that came into Africa. A lot of their tribe was wiped out. Those that were left actually split into two fractions. One went south down into Namibia, and the rest stayed where they were. But shortly after they split up, they were attacked again, but this time they were attacked by the Tope Nambar people. They were cattle raiders who were also displaced because of colonization. So they came in and attacked the Herero people. So after this, they had lost a lot of social material and wealth and their land, essentially, because they were run out of Cookaville. They went into Angola. So they went through the Kinyu River and up into Angola. So I'm just going to show a little map so you can get a better understanding. So if you can see here, the outline in orange is actually Namibia, and Cookaville right up here is where they first were in the beginning. And then when they split up, the first faction went this way and the rest stayed put. And then when they were attacked again, they went through the Angola River, or the Kinyu River into Angola. And then around the 1920s, they followed this warrior named Vito from Angola back down into Namibia. And that's kind of where they've settled today. So they're referred to as a zero income culture. So their wealth is based off of their livestock, how much livestock they have. So for them, they're livestock farmers, but they have some crops. Most of their crops are just corn. The type of livestock they have is cattle. They have fat-tailed sheep, goats, and chicken. So they live a very nomadic lifestyle. They have one home settlement, and then the men will go off looking for better grazing land for their cattle. The people, they live off the land. So very similar to the First Nations people of North America. They believe that the land was given to them and everything that it had to offer, they were going to use and they were going to respect. They were very respectful with that type of stuff. So that was just a little bit about their history and their background. So now I'm going to kind of talk about their social structures. Like I stated above, they live on one large home settlement with all of their extended family. They do practice polygamy, but it's for both the men and the women. They can take multiple spouses. They have an open marriage. Their only condition is that all parties that are involved have to be in agreement with the marriage. This type of thinking for them is they wanted more children that'll help with the cattle in the future. Most of their marriages are arranged by family. There are some cases where infant girls will actually be betrothed to an older male, but they won't get married until she has her first menstruation cycle. The Himba men are considered a man until they're actually married, whereas the girls are not considered a woman until they've actually given birth. They live in a maternal and paternal system, which is more commonly referred to as a bilateral descent. So what that basically means is they are both a part of their mother and their father's clan. whereas some indigenous tribes, they believe you're either from, when you get married, you either live with the mother's side of the family, or you live with the male side of the family. Whereas this indigenous tribe, they actually live with both. The women they do more of the hard labor. They collect the firewood, they build their homes, they tend to the crops, and they raise the children. So their homes are in a big circle, and their huts are in a big circle in their village, and their homes are they're like cone shapes. So the bottom half is made with big branches and sticks, and the top half is made with corn stalks or palm tree leaves and cow manure and red clay. It's made it like a big hard shell. I actually have a picture to show you just to give you a better idea. So as you can see, the top here is hard, and the bottom here has the trees or the sticks all around it, and it's kind of in a cone shape. So the tribe members, they all have equal rights. Decisions are split down the middle. No one has more of a say than someone else. So the men and the women have authority over everything. The men are generally the ones that deal with the economic issues, and the women are ones that generally deal with the men have a kind of authority over most things, but the women are generally seen to have more authority over the economic issues. So they are monotheistic people. So basically what that means is they believe in only one God. So their God is called Mukuru. He's the creator of the world, just like the First Nations people of North America have a creator. He created their world. And they also have this eternal fire that actually burns in the center of their village. So their huts are in a big circle, and then they have this fire in the very center that's referred to Akaru, and it's always going. So their doors are facing this eternal fire. And this is their belief of how they communicate with their God. They think this is the bridge between the living and the dead. So their belief is the door's facing the fire, and then if someone is to pass in the night, they just walk out the door and walk straight to the fire into the afterlife. That's kind of a little bit about their social structures. The last topic I'm going to be talking about is probably my favorite about them. It's their customs and traditions. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I had watched this documentary on their ethnical foods and how they ate, and I fell in love with their beauty. The women are just a beautiful type of people. They have very unique hairstyles, and which can take hours for them to prepare. So what they do is they generally braid their hair, and then they braid it again, making it almost look like a dreadlock, and then they cover it with ojits. It's this paste. It's a mixture of butter and orc, and it's red. So then they put that on. So then they literally look like they have dreadlocks. So here's a picture you can see. She has very red looking hair, and you can see the hair at the very bottom, but it looks like dreadlocks. It's beautiful, I think. So for the women, bathing is a luxury. They don't want to waste water. They want to save it for the livestock, or they want to save it for their crops. So instead, what they do is they take smoke baths. Now, what they do is they put coals on, and they start to smolder them in a little bowl. They also put some herbs in there too, so that it gives off a better smell for them. And they also have wood. It's from a camporia tree. So they wait till the smoke starts to rise, and then they blow over the smoke of a bowl, and it starts to perspire. And then what they do, if they want a full body wash, they'll cover themselves in a blanket so that the smoke gets trapped and they start to perspire. And then they become wet, and then they can clean themselves that way. So just like I had mentioned before, they put this ojits paste in their hair. They also cover it in their bodies. That's why they have that red glow to them. It protects them from the sun and bug bites. It also keeps their skin really moist. And in some cases, it'll stop hair growth. The women will actually sleep on wooden pillows to protect their hair at night, so they don't have as long the next morning to get ready. So the children, when they're really little, they will have shaved heads, and they'll have one tuft of hair just kind of right at the crown. It'll just kind of look like a puffball. And then girls, when they hit puberty, their hair is styled into 2 braids, and it comes down over the face to cover the face. And this shows the men that they're not ready to wed. I actually have another picture for you. There you can see she has 2 braids that are covering her face. So before the men get married, they have one hairstyle. So they will have a single braid just going down the back of their head. And then when they are married, their hair will be tied up, and they'll have a turban over their hair. And they'll wear that for the rest of their life. Even after they die, they'll have that on. The men, actually the only ones that are able to take baths with water, but it's only once a week. So the men will wear goatskin loincloths, and they'll have sandals on their feet, and that'll kind of be their only attire. So the women will also wear some goatskin skirts, and they'll have it decorated with shells and coins and copper coins and iron, and they will remain bare-breasted. The women will also wear large shell necklaces. They're called Ohimbas. So they're actually passed down from on the wedding day from the mother to their daughters. They'll wear big, heavy necklaces made from copper or wire. It's actually often electrical fencing that they've found, and they'll just take and make it into a necklace. They'll also wear heavy anklets to protect them. This is actually to protect them from any venomous animal bites. So both the men and the women love traditional jewelry. They'll be covered in it. They'll wear a large number of necklaces, arm bracelets, and sometimes it'll go all the way up their arms. It'll look like sleeves. They're sometimes made from like ostrich shells, ostrich eggshells, beads, grass, cloth, copper. It can weigh up to any time 20 pounds. Like, it's very heavy. I have some pictures here. So this kind of shows you the women and all of their necklaces and their wires and their big copper necklaces and their shells, and then all their arms bracelets. This next one's a little difficult to see, so I'll kind of try to zoom in. But the main idea I was trying to show you is this is what a traditional Himba woman will look like. She'll have her loincloth skirt on with all of her decorative belts. She'll have her armbands, her necklaces, and she'll also have the anklets there. So they're very, very traditional people. You know, they have certain hairstyles throughout their life that'll tell you certain things about them. Like if they're married, if they've gone through puberty, and all of that. So the boys will actually, once they hit puberty, they'll actually be circumcised, and then after that, they'll be able to get married, and that's kind of their tradition there. They also believe at 10 years old, your molars, we would call them, they actually pull those out. They have this belief that they can sacrifice that to their god, and it'll give the children good fortune in finding a spouse in the future. So that's just a little bit about them. That's a brief overview. They're a very complex indigenous tribe. I'm going to link the 3 articles I used for my information, and also the YouTube video down below, so you can go and learn more about them, because they're so interesting. I just kind of wanted to talk about how the Himba tribe reminded me of what we've learned already in class about the North American First Nations. In my opinion, they're very similar. You know, they live a very similar life. You know, they live in small village settings. They live a nomadic lifestyle, like many of the First Nations in North America did. They're hunter-gatherers, which many First Nations in North America were. The one thing that I think reminded me the most about them is how their leadership is ran. One of the articles we just read in class was about the Iroquois tribe, and it was talked about their leadership and how the women played a very important role in it. And I think that's very similar with the Himba people. The women do play a very important role. Like I said, they do a lot of the heavy lifting, where the men kind of just go and watch the cows and tend to the herds, and that's kind of what they do, whereas the women are running the daily life in the village. And I think another important thing to talk about is we just learned about the fall of Constantinople and how that kind of started the global colonization. And I think one thing that I didn't really click into my head when we first learned that was they basically wiped out several indigenous tribes. It wasn't just in North America. Obviously Africa, the slaves were taken and that, but it wasn't just, the British that what I originally thought. It was also the Germans. That's the majority of the people that came into Africa. Like I said before, it was German colonizers that came in and basically wiped out their entire tribe. And they used to be about 1 million strong, and today they have about 20,000 left. So I think that's a really important thing to touch on, that, everyone was affected in the global colonization. And I think obviously another similarity was how they both believe in a creator. They both believe that their land was given to them and they should be respectful of it. They basically, both the Himba people and the First Nations of North America both believe that you should show great high respect for the creator. And then I think the first thing that drew me to them was the way that they looked, the way that they had all this jewelry. It looked like a traditional dress to me. And that reminded me of the chiefs of tribes in North America, how they had their traditional headdress. They had their necklaces as well. And they both looked so regal in a sense. And I think that's kind of what made me think of the two. They're both the First Nations and the Himba people. They both have different pieces that they wear and different things that mean. Like, I know in the First Nations tribe, certain headdresses or hairstyles mean certain things within their life. And I think this just goes to show that across the world, indigenous tribes are very similar. They'll have different aspects to them, but they'll possess similar qualities and stories. So like I stated before, I'm just going to link the 3 articles that I used if you guys wanted to go and learn some more. I hope you guys learned a little bit from watching this. Have a good day.